Magandang araw po. Naalala ko yung lolo ko noon. Pag nagkukwento siya sa akin, ang madalas niyang simulang sabihin ay, noong unang panahon. Hehe. Ang ibig tukuyin po noon, bago ang Second World War. Parang pwede na rin nating gamitin niya ngayon ah. Pag sinabi kong noong unang panahon, ang ibig ko pong sabihin ay yung time bago mag-pandemic. Pwede, di ba? Kaya, noong unang panahon, pag kumakain ka sa isang diner o restaurant na hindi impressive ang food, hindi mo gaanong maalala ang food trip experience mo, di ba? Pero na lang kung may langaw sa soup mo o may totoong tuwalya sa kari-kari mo. Haha. Kaya may excitement din naman mag-explore ng mga lugar kung saan merong masarap na food. At madalas madidiscover mo na there is no place like home. Lalo na kung ang cooking ni mommy is always sprinkled with love. Then you stop looking around. Then you stop complaining. Then you start counting your blessings. I invite you to come home for meals. At ito ang contentment there ni Jesus sa misa natin ngayon. There's no place like home. Noong unang panahon, may narinig po akong kwento. Ibabahagi ko now sa inyo.
Once upon a time, a stonecutter was working near the side of a mighty rock. As he stood to pause from his hard labor for a minute, he observed a local landlord and his party pass underneath the shade of the trees nearby. When the stonecutter saw this rich man in all his comfort, his work suddenly felt heavier and harder to him. "Oh, if only I were a rich man," he sighed, "how happy I should be." Suddenly, a voice answered from the mountain, "Your wish is heard. A rich man you shall be." When the stonecutter returned home that evening, he found a magnificent palace where his hut once stood. The poor man was nearly beside himself with joy, and in his new life the old one was soon forgotten. One day, while he was leisurely making his tour in his carriage, he felt the sun burn sharply on his face. He thought to himself, "The sun is powerful. Even his riches cannot prevent it from scorching his face." The stonecutter then wished he would become the sun itself, and immediately it was granted. As the sun, he felt mightier than all. His light stretched around the entire world, and his rays shone on kings and fishers alike. But as he burned bright in the sky, a cloud moved in front of him and obscured his sight. "What is this?" he wondered. "A cloud is mightier than me. Oh, how I wish I was a cloud." And a cloud he was, and he lay between the sun and the earth. He caught the sun's beams and held them, and for days and weeks he poured forth rain, till the rivers overflowed their banks, and the crops of rice stood in water. Towns and villages were destroyed by the power of the rain, only the great rock on the mountainside remained unmoved. "What is this?" he cried. "A mountain of rock is mightier than me. Oh, how I wish I was that mountain of rock." And that rock mountain he became, and gloried in his power. Proudly he stood, and neither the heat of the sun, nor the force of the rain could move him. "This is better than all," he said to himself. But one day he heard a strange noise at his feet. And when he looked down to see what it could be, he saw a stonecutter driving tools into his surface. Even while he looked, a trembling feeling ran all through him, and a great block broke off and fell upon the ground. Then he cried in his wrath, "Is a mere child of earth mightier than a rock? Oh, if I were only a man!" And the mountain spirit answered, "Your wish is heard. A man once more you shall be." And the poor man was content to remain a stonecutter for the rest of his life.
Ay naku, if we have 10 reasons to complain, there are certainly more than 100 reasons to be grateful. And yet, we are a people who love to complain. A part of the 5,000 who were fed followed Jesus to his retreat to Capernaum. Pero may remark si Jesus sa kanila. Jesus says to them, "Very truly I tell you, you are looking for me not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of the loaves." Tapos, they compared Jesus to Moses, daring him to produce more convincing signs. Kaya nasabi tuloy ni Jesus ang key verse na ito sa John 6:35. "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never hunger, and whoever believes in me will never thirst." Isang kaibigang pari na lumaki sa probinsya ang nagbanggit na tuwing umaga, yung kanilang dalawang kalabaw daw, tulad ng dalawang baka sa picture natin, would always stick out their heads between the barbed wire fences sa kanilang grazing pasture. Bakit? They are always trying to eat the grass outside the yard. Very daring daw. Kasi ang grass always looks greener at the other side of the fence. Carabao perception nga talaga. Pero, parang lahat naman ng kahayupan yata ay ganun ang pananaw. Ngek. Kasi discontentment says, the grass always looks greener at the other side of the fence. At alam nyo, to the point, ang sabi ng isang Dominican German theologian, philosopher and mystic, si Meister Eckhart. Kilala nyo ba yan? Noong pang 12th century. Sabi niya, some people want to see God with their eyes as they see a cow, to love Him as they love their cow. They love their cow for the milk and cheese and profit it makes them. This is how it is with people who love God for the sake of outward wealth and inward comfort. They do not rightly love God for their own advantage. Wow, piercingly true. We have a strong message from St. Paul in his letter to the Ephesians in the second reading. Ang sabi niya, "I want to urge you in the name of the Lord not to go on living the aimless kind of life that the pagans live. You must give up your old way of life. You must put aside your old self, which gets corrupted by following illusory desires." What St. Paul is trying to tell us is that it is our illusory desires that make us want to complain. And again, all these illusions are but caused by our short-sightedness. The closer we are to being blind, the greater is our desire for visual, material, physical signs. That is why Jesus dares us to live in contentment. Content with the fact that we have Him, our bread of life. And what Jesus is saying can be summed up in a single sentence. The human heart has a hunger and thirst that nothing on earth can satisfy. It is a lesson that we must learn if we are ever to find true happiness. Fame and fortune, all the wealth in this material world, promise to fill the void, the hole, the emptiness in the human heart. But, in the end, they leave the heart more hungry, more thirsty, more short-sighted, and even more complaining than it was before. Sa pagtatapos, let me share with you this quote from Saint Teresa of Avila's bookmark. "Let nothing disturb you, let nothing dismay you. All things are passing, God never changes. Patience obtains all things. The one who has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices." Amen.